Welcome to StockMarketFunding.com, live on a Saturday, Apple Computer weekly chart. And we are doing our Saturday training sessions with our SMF MMT traders, trading the firm's capital. We also are putting the video together because it's for them. And it's for them so that they are very well in tuned when they start making their transactions on Monday, is that they finally are learning where the volatility bottom diminishes. And diminishing means that there's less volatility at the bottom and more price action bounces off support than during the volatility bottom. And that when the bottom volatility diminishes in the cycle of the trend, that's where the trend returns from weak to medium to strong. And then there are other mathematical equations that would show the bullish breakouts and trends that could return to Apple. Whether they do or not is what is in the making and in the reproducing of that momentum of that Apple trend. Why Apple could go higher is what I'm going to show you. And what I'm showing you is a gift. On this 10-week moving average, the bull case was that you had maintained it and you kept bouncing and closing, you kept bouncing here. But that time the 10-week was rising. So that's what gave that bottom volatility support, because it was ascending in value, which represents sustainable bottoms within bottom volatility. However, over here on Apple, we came all the way down. We got below that 10-week. Then we got back above it, which made it a bullish case. Then it got back below it during the thing with the iPhone and all of that. But since then, that rising red line 20-week has acted as a bottom volatility support, just as it was doing it over here with the blue line of the 10-week. And when you are rising mathematically here, you are putting in a sustainable bottom. A close above 250 is the 20-week moving average. Let's make sure. The 20-week moving average is at 249.61. The prior week, it was only 247. You've had 2 basis points higher here. That means that the 20-week is ascending and not descending. Now, this could be over a lot of people's head as far as true mathematical technical analysis versus standard deviation of technical analysis, or whatever the things that you've been led to believe over the last 20 years when people started getting on the internet and showing their skills. Our skills are real. So the bullish case for Apple is that as we closed above the 10-week. So let's see what the 10-week moving average is. The 10-week moving average is at 256.58. The prior week was 255.97. And the prior week before that was 254.656. Since that low, we have gone higher in value with that 10-week. And not only that, the name Apple Computer closed at 259.84. Notice that the 10-week moving average, as I said, has started to rise. That's where the bottom volatility, becomes less in nature. It diminishes, would be the another word, and that a closing price like we were doing over here. This was news. This was news event. Now we've had the earnings and a resolution to the iPhone 4 accordingly. So we're going to be back to the bullish side of the trade. When you come down and hit support, you're going to bounce very hard. You're not going to have these long wicks you're not going to have these $10 long wicks on the bottom. That's the bottom volatility. 240 back to the body of 250. So basically, ultimately, no matter what, your volatility now will be half of the weekly bar, which would only mean that you would come down, test half of the bar, and when you bounce above half of the SMF weekly bar, you go that way. You come down, you hit it, but then you bounce immediately like that. You don't undercut it and put in higher bottom volatility. It diminishes. It stops there, bam, and it bounces. And that's the nice thing about getting back into the intraday trend cycle with Apple, as it is a leader and 20% weighted of what? Of what? The NASDAQ 100. When this starts acting better, you're going higher here. Then the bears are going to have a big short cover, and the bulls are going to jump all over it. We're not a bear or bull here. We are just masters at trend cycles. And we have our own proprietary mathematical system and our own mathematical direct access trading platform. And everything that we do here is never based on opinion or what if. Sorry, we don't work that way. What we do work with is we've had improvements in the IR or percent DS, percent K, whatever you want to look at it. Went from 7, okay, so it got down to 71, but now it's ascending in value. It's up at 73. It's not at 71. It was at 75 and holding in here. Popped down to 71, has popped up. The bullish case is that we got a closing price above it. We've got a 10-week that's going above it. It never went into a bear qualifier, an SMF bear qualifier. It was on the verge of both a bull and bear qualifier being produced at the same time. That 4-week consolidation, if I can close above half of this bar and maintain that value, and this stops going down, this crosses above, hey, Apple Computer's next resistance level based on that only. So don't take what I say and turn it into a non-reality. If you own Apple Computer and that's the way you want it to be, I wouldn't think that way. Let's work with what it really would be and why. 472.57 is the upward target of that downtrend right there. The next area and closing price would be above this bar right here, this weekly bar. And that means that that weekly bar, you made a higher high here than there, but you need a closing price above 459.64 on a weekly closing basis to know that you're putting in, you went from a big volatility in the bottoming process, but now that volatility comes out of that bottom and you start putting in more of the bull bottom where even people can start trading it again without a lot of risk in the shorter term. That's the bullish case there. The other bullish case is that this bottoming, or that this reading right here, the last one was 15. This is 14. This has got to get higher than the previous. The CCI right here is only -5, folks. When we were putting in the bottom over here, that CCI, when we were putting in that bottom here, that CCI got to plus on the bounce. Then it got to 19 on the up move, but when we got back into the negative move, it got to -19, went positive 19, -19. Imagine that. Mathematical is much better than your opinion. Now I'm -5. If I go into positive territory, then that's part